Hi, I'm Dianna Anderson, and welcome to episode 5 of How Do I Lead Now? In this episode, we're going to talk about how to make friends with fear. Yep, fear is your friend, and I think fear expresses its friendship by teaching you how to be your very best self. So let's explore how that actually works. Personally, I think that fear shows up in our lives when we are out of alignment in some way. And wherever that fear is showing up, it's an invitation to take a look at that place and see what we need to learn or do differently in order to kind of take ourselves to the next level of leadership and in life. So when fear shows up, for me at least, there's usually a couple of different things happening. Either I'm avoiding something, or if I'm trying to do something, I'm kind of grinding my way through it and using a lot of will because something is out of alignment. So you might want to think for a moment, where is that happening for you? Are there things that you're avoiding that you know you need to be giving attention to? And if yes, what's the fear that's underlying that? Or are there things that just seem like they're taking so much energy to do that it's really getting in the way of being able to make the kind of progress that you want to make? Or sometimes what happens is you're starting to behave in ways that you're not too happy with. Maybe you're not even that proud of. Maybe there's some habits that you're getting into that you are using to kind of cover up some fears. So maybe you're drinking a little bit more than you feel is a good idea, or maybe you're eating in ways that don't feel that healthy, or maybe you are losing your temper when you would prefer not to be. These are all signs and symptoms that fear is present in your life. So take a moment and notice where those things are showing up, because that's where you want to give some attention. I find that when fear shows up, it's asking questions really broadly in two big areas. One is in our heads, and the other is in our hearts. So head-based fears for me are often around issues of control. And are we trying to control things that maybe are beyond what we can control? And fear often shows up to kind of help us see the difference. So let's face it, a lot has changed. And it may be that old patterns that you had before that helped you do whatever it is you need to do have broken down. So maybe working at home or working from a distance, or maybe just shifts that have happened in your business are requiring you to realign your systems and your approaches in order to focus on the things that matter most and feel like you're making the kind of progress that you need to make. So notice the places where it feels like you want things to be under control, but they're not, and ask yourself things like, do you have the resources that you need to address whatever the issue is now? Or do you have the relationships that you need to be able to be in the kinds of conversations that you need to have in order to really get at the heart of whatever that issue is? Or ask yourself, do you have the skills that you need now? Have things shifted so much that maybe a new skill set is required in order to be able to address issues properly? So these are kind of head-based fears that tend to show up. And again, they often show up with this sense that you cannot really kind of get your hands around the things that matter most. And so we address these fears by really kind of stepping back and asking, what does matter most right now? And do I have what I need to feel like I'm supported in addressing those meaningful issues in an effective way? If we are looking at heart-based fears, these are more about honoring yourself and your authentic self, and to show up fully as who and what you are. And so if you're finding that your fears are more heart-based, more concerns around yourself or your leadership, ask yourself again, maybe what has shifted for you as a result of all that has changed recently? And what might you need to do to bring yourself into better alignment to express yourself more fully in ways that feel right and true for you? So look at areas like self-care. Are you able to keep yourself in a balanced and focused place now, or do you maybe need to change or create some new habits to support yourself? So maybe you used to be able to get to the gym or be able to have some private space or time that you don't have anymore. Are there things that you need to be doing to help bring yourself again into a more centered place? Also think about what's important to you now. Have your priorities shifted, or has things that you think are or feel are important shifted with the changes that have happened recently? And do you maybe need to speak to that more authentically? Are there conversations that you need to have to express how you're feeling about something with anybody in your life? These are kind of heart-based fears that show up, and the way that we learn from those is to ask, where am I out of alignment with what's true or right for me, and what do I need to do differently in order to really honor that truth and bring myself back into a more centered place? So again, fear shows up to invite us to create a stronger alignment between our heads and our hearts so that we can show up as a centered and a best expression of ourselves. And the reason that that's really important, well, there's multiple reasons why that's really important. One is when you can drop into that kind of sweet spot of centeredness, you are going to be much calmer. You're going to have a more steadying presence for anybody in your life. You are better able to tap into your own creative capabilities. And in doing that and in being that, you actually inspire the people around you to do the same thing, which is what we all need right now. So your reflection for this week is to notice, where is fear showing up in your life? Where do you feel out of alignment? Or where are you using behaviors to kind of cover that fear? Maybe you need to kind of take the top off of that and peer in there and ask yourself, is it a structural thing? Is it a control issue for you, kind of more of a head-based fear? Or is this a heart-based fear where maybe what's important to you has shifted and you need to bring that into alignment? So reflect both on head and heart and how you're doing in that alignment. Notice where fear is inviting you to drop more solidly into your own center so that you can not only bring your best self to whatever you're focused on, but you can inspire others to do the same. Please let me know what you learn as a result of these reflections. I'd love to hear the successes that you have as a result of any adjustments that you might make to honor what fear is teaching you, and would love to hear how that's making a difference in your life. So send me those observations and insights, any questions that you have. I'll integrate them into our next episodes. But so until then, I hope that, until next week, let me say, I hope that you are well. I'll look forward to reconvening with you next week when we're going to talk a little bit more about what questions we actually need to focus on and ask and answer these days. How do we know what the right question is? So I hope that you will join me next week for that exploration. Until then, take care and be well.